Well, Senator Conroy, thank you very much for sparing some time for us at Hungry Beast to talk a bit about
Good to be with you.
Internet safety. Good on you, good on you. In one sentence, can you tell us why the government is introducing a mandatory internet filter and why it isn't optional?
The material that we're talking about filtering, refused classification. You can't buy it in a bookstore, you can't go to the movies and watch it, you can't buy a DVD and look at it, and you can't see it in newspapers. This is material that's already banned in Australia. There's been a lot of wild accusations and claims about what we're actually trying to ban. So I think it's important that people understand that the material we are talking about filtering is material that is already banned and you can't get in Australia.
Now, there's some talk that fetish material will be banned and will be classified as RC. While it's not illegal for consenting adults to be doing it in the privacy of their own home, why is it illegal for them to download it?
Well, look, fetish material is currently classified RC. Now, what most Australians don't realise is that there is an independent organisation, independent of government, that makes the decisions around the classifications, the Classification Board. And they determine, based on their many years of experience, what they think is the community standard. Now, there are times when they make decisions about what do you rate a film that I disagree with. And I'm sure there are times when they classify things that you disagree with. But they have a body of experience, a wealth of experience. It's a group of individuals who are at arm's length, completely arm's length from government, and they make the decisions. And it's the Classification Board that made the decision around fetishes, not the government. If ultimately the community attitudes change and the Classification Board decide that fetishes shouldn't be included in RC, then they'll be removed. But while they are classified as that, and you can't buy them in bookstores, you can't go to the movies and see them, you can't get a DVD, and you can't see them in newspapers, it was determined by another organisation. They look at these things and go, no, that classifies in this way. And it is arm's length from government, as it should be. You don't want Steve Conroy putting his personal stamp on what should or shouldn't be in.
On that note, what is your favourite fetish?
Look, I'm a long-term
Pretty straight.
I am a long-term Collingwood football fan, and most people describe that as a fetish.
Right, well, that's pretty interesting. Very good there. Now, given that there are a few mistakes on the leaked blacklist, where a few sites that aren't RC were put on the blacklist by mistake, why won't the government and ACMA publish a transparent list of sites that might potentially be banned?
There's two things. Firstly, a list was leaked that was not the blacklist. Okay, and most Australians don't realise there is currently a blacklist. There has been for 9 years, and it hasn't caused any great excitement. But what actually happened there was, firstly, the initial list that was leaked was not. The second list that was leaked was closer to the ACMA blacklist. But what's important to understand is that the way the list works is that we are notified by international agencies, policing agencies, that say, look, this site contains certain material. Let's say child pornography, because in this case, in some of the instances, that's what it was. And individual pages within websites had been hacked by organised crime, and they had material put on it. So the dentist, the dog wash, all those ones people like to laugh about. Individual pages had been hacked by organised crime internationally, and child pornography had been put on these web pages.
What about the canteen lady? She got put on the blacklist because her site had teen in it, but canteen.
Well, as I said, I don't think that was on the actual blacklist. There was a blacklist that was leaked and people claimed was the blacklist, which wasn't.
Right.
But because of those concerns, we've responded by two things. Firstly, we've made it very clear that it is refused classification material. And secondly, we've said, and this goes to the heart of your question about, well, why won't you publish the list? When you publish the list of film titles and book titles that say these are banned, which is what happens now, you don't give access to the material because it's just the title. Unfortunately, if you publish a list of web pages, you actually provide access to the material. And this is one, look, genuinely, we struggled about this. And we absolutely accept there are legitimate concerns that some government organisation or Steve Conroy might actually be putting things on the list that shouldn't be there, which is why we put out a discussion paper and we said, what new measures do we want to put in place to ensure that the blacklist, the secret blacklist, isn't abused by politicians or bureaucrats. And that's a very legitimate concern. So what we've said to people is write to us and tell us what you think could be a new transparency and accountability measure. An industry body. Should the classification board look at each individual site that is being suggested by these international agencies? And we have an open mind and we welcome community input on that, because we want to make sure that people have confidence in the administration of this blacklist. So if people have legitimate concerns, if you're just opposed to any form of censorship or filtering of the net, we're not going to agree. But if you're actually saying, okay, we accept there are some material, child pornography, bestiality, pro-rape websites, things like that.
Collingwood football fetish.
The Collingwood football fetish should certainly be on the list. But
so many dirty socks, so little time.
If you're legitimately concerned that there is some material that you just think shouldn't be able to be even stumbled upon, then make a contribution to putting in place a regime that is a check, so that whatever material ends up, whatever websites or web pages are listed, there's a body that looks at that and says, no, that is a legitimate page that should be banned.
Well, let me ask you a question then. How will blocking websites tackle the issue of child porn, NRC, when there's a myriad of other channels like VPN, peer-to-peer, chat, email attachments, Facebook?
That's one of the claims that people have tried to make, that I've said that this filter can deal with it. We've never said that. We accept absolutely that peer-to-peer is not going to be captured by this, and a whole range of other things you've just described are not captured. We haven't tried to pretend.
It seems to me this is like putting a dam in the middle of the ocean.
Look,
in a sense.
It's sort of like saying, well, if you can't block something 100%, if you can't stop something 100% with a government law, you shouldn't bother having the law.
Sure.
So, look, we should get rid of the underage drinking laws.
Give me a good hard go.
Yeah, no, look, we should get rid of the underage drinking laws, because kids still manage to find ways to get around the law and have drinks. We should get rid of speeding laws, because some Australians still speed. A government has to give its best endeavours. We accept there are limitations to the technology. It's why we had the trial. And the trial has helped change some of our thinking on this.
Just talking about the limitations, how will high traffic sites like YouTube be affected if one of it?
Well, that is a legitimate concern. If it was just automatically included in the filter, it would slow the internet down, which is why we said we won't include it. So we're currently in discussions with Google about whether or not and how we can work this through.
So there'll be a case where an overseas company will be administering Australian law.
Well, they currently do administer Australian law. I mean, people don't understand that Google at the moment filter more websites and packets than anyone in the world. They are the leading web filterer. And they should be, because there is a lot of material that sometimes gets posted on YouTube, which is a problem. And YouTube and Google take it down. YouTube take it down, as they should. And what we're saying is, well, in Australia, these are our laws, and we'd like you to apply our laws. And so we think that where we can reasonably work with them, we're able to do it. I mean, Google at the moment filter an enormous amount of material on behalf of the Chinese government. They filter an enormous amount of material on behalf of the Thai government. Around the world, Germany, France, countries that have said certain material is offensive, Google accept that.
It's good to see when I still search for StephenConroy.com.au, I can still get there.
You can still get there. You can find the real Steve Conroy, you can find the fake Steve Conroy, you can find them all, they're all out there.
Now, the NX report into the trial filter outlined just how easy it was for a proficient user to circumvent the filter. Did you try and circumvent the filter yourself? How long did it take?
Look, I think Tom Wood demonstrated that the previous regime, he was a 15, 16-year-old boy, it took him 30 minutes to get around the previous government's attempts, right. which is why we've had to look at this new measure, because when you can just download a filter and then bolt it on, it takes less than 30 minutes to bolt it off. We've never tried to suggest that a seriously tech-savvy kid or adult can get around this. We're not trying to pretend. What we're saying is this is one part of a measure that includes more police, more money for court action, educational training for teachers, educational training for parents, educational training for kids. What we need to cultivate is that what is acceptable in the real world is acceptable online, and what is unacceptable in the real world is unacceptable online. A civil society, which most of the people who are concerned about this area is not a free-for-all. A civil society is not the Wild West. A civil society has some respected norms and respected behaviours, and we're in a new era of the net, and people are rightfully saying, hey,